Welcome to the Thresholds of Reality, the podcast where we explore mysterious, unexplained events, phenomena, and legends. Today, we're talking to Greg Bakun. Is that right?
Bakun.
Greg
Everyone says
Bakun.
Bakun. Yeah.
A paranormal investigator and the host of the Ghost Box Radio with Greg Bakun or Bacon. Which one is it?
Bakun.
I'm getting both. I can't tell.
It works both ways.
Anyway, host of Ghost Box Radio with Greg Bakun. Strap in as we examine the edges of the unknown.
So this is great. This is probably going to be hands down probably one of the funnest episodes for me to be able to do, because this is my wheelhouse. This is something that is really close to home for me. It's something paranormal investigation, paranormal phenomena, spirits, all of this is something that really comes home to me. So being able to sit here, Greg, with you and dig a little bit into paranormal investigation stuff you found. This is the topic that got me to want to do a podcast like this.
Oh, fantastic.
So all I got to tell our listeners is strap in, because I think this is going to be an interesting one.
Before we dive too deep, Greg, I did have a couple questions. When I think of a paranormal investigator, I think of the library scene in Ghostbusters. You know what I mean? A bunch of guys kind of waving instruments in a dark, empty room until a specter appears and scares the bejesus out of them. How much of paranormal investigation falls within that kind of ghost hunters trope, and how much of it is outside of that stereotype?
I in my opinion, when you have people, and I've seen it too, and you see it on the TV shows, when people get what they ask for and they run away, to me, that's not then a paranormal investigator. You know, the whole purpose of it is to do, to get that response, to get what you went in there looking for. If you want to see a full-bodied apparition and you see one and you run, then I feel like that's then you just wasted a lot of people's time, including your own.
You defeated the purpose of what the point of investigating and helping to prove that there is life after death.
Well, and
so to speak. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things too that I do a lot is what in an area of the paranormal called Itc Intertransmental Communication, and we could talk about that. But what that basically is stuff like Spirit Box, which is what I like to use a lot. And there was an episode of Ghost Brothers where and I don't know if either of you have ever seen that program. And there's a guy by the name of Jawan, and it was actually in a house that I helped set up for the episode. Like I got them the house and stuff. And through the Spirit Box, he heard his name. You hear Jawan, which is not a usual name. So that's very interesting. Yeah. He literally got up and ran out of the house. And it's like, well, what's the point of, they said your name. And I come from a kind of a standpoint that if you're going to be doing an investigation, maybe they want your help. Maybe they want something from you, and they just called out to you and you just ran away from them. So to answer your question, Sam, it's like, yeah, we are. A lot of times we are around with our instruments and whatnot. But what we hope to not do is, run away from the phenomenon that we are looking for sure. Yeah.
What got you into this? Like, something had to have happened that you're like, this happened to me, or this happened to someone I know. And it took you down this wormhole of trying to help other people.
It's interesting because honestly, it wasn't like there's so many people, some of my friends that I know have had such great experiences their entire life. My first experience was when I was 4 years old, and my grandmother had passed away. And after the funeral and stuff, we were back at my family house in my living room, and just with my mom, actually. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes this huge amount, just very sweet rose smell, like that you actually get like in a funeral home.
Yep.
Yeah.
It came and it went, just like whoom. And I just said to my mom, I said, "What's that?" And she said, "That's Grandma." Now, that's not really, I mean, there might have been other things that I am unaware of throughout my life, and I think that is very possible, but it wasn't until a long time later that I was watching some of these shows on television, and it wasn't like, ooh, I want to go in a dark room and yell it in the air. It was like people using the spirit box, and the spirit box was the idea that what if I could talk using this device and they can talk back to me in real time? That to me was very interesting. And so that was really where I was trying to decide, do I want to, do something like this myself? Because it just seemed like this is really neat. This is really fun. And I did it. I went with a friend at work. We worked in a building that was built in 1916 in downtown Minneapolis. It's actually the building that Prince, or the artist Prince, he had a club called Glam Slam, and it wasn't there any longer. But it was Glam Slam in the main level, and up on the 12th floor, which is where I worked, was his penthouse for a number of years before they actually bought the building out and they renovated it completely. So there was a lot of stuff, and this was before he had passed, but there was a lot of stuff going on in that building. People had always said it's super haunted, it's super creepy down in the basement, which of course that's what basements are, they're creepy. And we go downstairs, and I have turn it on, and I'm like, can I get a name? Because we weren't getting anything. Can I get a name, please? And the name Nate comes through, and we're like, wow, okay. And then, do you have a last name? And it's like Lund. And we started asking questions, and we were starting to get responses. And never having done it before, suddenly was like, I like this. I want to do this more. And that kind of started me on the journey that I'm on now.
So you keep spirit box for any of our listeners out there and anyone that catches our replays. What is a spirit box?
A spirit box is a radio. It's like this. This is a mass-produced version of it, and what it does is, when you have like a radio and you can hit the scan and you're scanning and it stops at a radio station. It's getting rid of all. It's bypassing all the frequencies that don't have a radio station attached to it. What a spirit box does is that it will inhibit that, where it doesn't stop for anything. It just keeps going through the either AM or FM dial from the bottom to the top, and it just continually sweeps through the entire radio frequencies. And the theory behind this is that gives energy for spirits to respond. So like this mass-produced one, which is an SB7, and if you watch some of the shows, you'll hear them talk about it as such. The SB7 spirit box has multiple sweep functions, so you can go super, super fast, you can go super, super slow on it. And the difference between the two, then, if you're going slow, like the sweep rate is really slow, you're probably going to be picking up radio stations, and you're trying not to really pick up the radio stations, because then it's very easy to be like, oh my God, a spirit just told me I need to buy a used car. It's stuff like that, where it's like, no, that's not what's happening here. But, and then going super fast, and this is personal preference, of course, going super fast, I have a little bit more trouble with it myself. So I'm going more kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I'm just like right in the middle, it's just right, and so that's like I said, that's a mass produced one. If you ever remember radios that looked like this in the 90s, as far as like size, Radio Shack did some, Sangean did some. That's what a lot of people who are into this, they'll get those, and then they're going to hack them. So you might see in the field, someone called it a shack hack. And the shack hacks are basically the Radio Shack radios, but it inhibits that stopping feature. And, Chuck is always there. He's always supportive, and I just have to say thank you for that. That's it's like you and I were talking a little bit before the show. It was very this wasn't something I expected, because we knew each other through other lives, I guess, so to speak, and suddenly we're just kind of, he's always supportive of my feeds for the paranormal, so thank you for that.
No, he's great. That's what when we were first bringing up this podcast and talking about it, he messaged me, I've got the perfect person for you.
And he was unavailable, and you guys got me then, right?
Yeah. But he's like, I got a great person you guys can interview because I was kind of talking about like this is what one of the big topics that I like to cover.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I've got the perfect person for you. So I was like, oh, great. So
That's great.
Here you are now. So it's awesome.
So just real fast, I mean, and people make spirit boxes too that are not like based on a radio. They'll create their own. There's apps for it that people create. Some I think work really well. Some are, in my mind, questionable. Some are very detailed. Some are not. In my own collection, I probably have about 40 spirit boxes. Just because I love them. I just like collecting them. Some are very unique. Some are very, a lot of, it's like, I have a lot of old radios, and I mean like 1990s, like Memorex and Sangenes and stuff. And people probably look at me like, what is this? Some kind of Goodwill sort of shelving. But it's like, no, this is actually paranormal equipment. I use these out in the field and whatnot. So it's really funny what people use for that sort of thing. Yeah.
I remember when Ghost Hunters was really big, they used, I have one actually, and it what it's for is to like, it kind of tells you where the electricity is in the wall.
Yep, like a K2.
So I have a K2 that I've tried. I've actually used it, and I've actually tried to, because like my house, I don't call it haunted, but there's spirits in my house.
Yeah,
it's a busy house.
It is. There's two of them that are in my house, and I think honestly, one of them is the one that that has followed me my entire life.
Okay, yeah, that's not unreasonable. Yeah.
So, and then and I think that one is the nicer of the two. Like, I think he's like, even growing up, my parents like I would leave, and they got so used to it. But what would happen is I would leave, and then they would see the door open and shut again as soon as I would leave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so and then so many of the experiences that I had growing up, this wasn't anything out of the norm for them. So I think that one is here because I think it's just followed me, and it doesn't do anything malicious, nothing more than you leave the room and you come back, and there'll be like stuff from the pantry on the bed in my master bedroom. So like
long distance.
Yes. So like, like my pantry will have like soap and razors and stuff like that. And then what will happen is you'll go and take a shower. When you come back out, those items will be sitting on the bed, and there's nobody else home. And it's kind of always done that. Even like when I was a kid, I would be in the shower and like the razor would fly off and hit me. Okay, I got it. Time to shave. Cool. I'm cool with it. Same thing. It would be like, and then later, like the toothbrush would fly off and hit me. Okay, I brush my teeth in the shower. I can do that. And so I don't look at it as anything. Maybe I'm just so used to it that it's not a huge deal, to the point where like my kids are used to it. My wife is used to it. I've been married for almost 20 years. So like she is used to these things happening that she doesn't. The only other thing is there's one in my bathroom, in my closet.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't leave my closet. So like we sit on the master bed, in our master bed, and then like we have a bathroom in our master bedroom. And if we leave the door, and this is why we don't leave the door, or she doesn't leave the door open. But if you leave the door open, you can see it standing there in the reflection of the mirror, just chilling, watching us, hanging out. So she likes to keep it closed because that one creeps her out.
It's unnerving.
That one is. The other one that, and then the red one, the other one that I think follows me, you just see it walking. Say you see it walking up and down the hallway, and it likes to open and close our door, or our front door, even though it's locked. You hear it click unlock.
Wow.
You hear it shut. Have you ever had any experience? Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to ask in regards to that. Have you ever put out like a little digital recorder that you can have it set to when sounds come about, activate it? Maybe if you leave it while you're gone, what you might get is like EVPs in the house.
I have tried that. So, because part of when I got like that K2 meter and everything, I got like a digital recorder and I got like this little infrared light thing. And then so what I did was I set it down. Everybody was leaving for the day, work, errands, whatever. Everyone was going to be gone for hours. So I just set it down and let it record for, hours, and we all left. So when I got home that day, I was like, cool, let's see what. The only thing that it was doing, and my house was empty, there was nobody here. The only thing was you could hear it going, like it was smacking the recorder. And that's all I got out of it.
Another thing you could do along with your recorder is that you can just do EVB burst sessions, basically just doing it for like 2-3 minutes at a time, and then do a playback, see if you're picking up anything, where you're asking questions to whatever's there. I mean, because it's clearly something that's trying to get your attention. So, and I would also suggest, if it doesn't happen once, maybe keep going at it, because obviously spirits don't respond on our schedule. They don't, no one works to our schedule. They work to their own. I'm assuming time is not the same as it is for us.
Hey, it's 4 p.m. Can I get that EVP now?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And sometimes stuff happens after sometime later, and and I have a really good example of that we can play today that I'd sent to you that might be worth at some point talking about, because it's really very interesting. And it is something I did one day. The next day I got the answer to it. Also, actually this week, I do my spirit box sessions Sunday nights and Tuesday nights. Sunday nights is me doing reaching out to people's loved ones. Tuesday is more what I call experimental, meaning for me that I'm not, reaching out to people's family. We're doing different things. And I have my friend Christy here. And what we did was she has a couple haunted dolls, one being a voodoo doll. And so we wanted to know if there's anything attached to the voodoo doll. So we did a session with that. And we had asked the voodoo doll, as well as a Ouija board that plays into my other story, can you contact me in some way? Can you make something move for me, please? And nothing happened. And then the next morning around 7:30 a.m., I heard a crash in my kitchen. And I looked and thought, well, is it Linus? And it's like, well, Linus is on the bed with me. My cat Linus is on the bed with me. So it's not him. So I go downstairs, and over at the refrigerator, there's a couple of like pans and whatnot that hit the floor. And they've been there for literally 10 years. I have not moved them. There's no reason for them to move today. And they were just on the floor. They were in an area that it wasn't like if the fridge shakes or anything for any reason, why would it shake, that it would just become loose and fall out. No, there was no reason for him to fall. I can't necessarily say to you that's definitely paranormal. I mean, it's odd for sure, but as an investigator, and it's hard when you want to believe. For myself, it's hard to just be like, well, that's the voodoo doll, then that's what that is. As much as I'd like to think to myself that's what it is, there isn't really anything that necessarily connects the two, other than the fact we ask for something to move, and then the next morning something happens that we can't explain.
It makes you wonder why there's a delay, or why there's I mean, is there, this is just me blowing smoke or asking questions, but is there like a time or perception of time difference between a spirit going through its existence versus us and our existence, right? So you might ask something, and either the spirit is up all night practicing knocking those pans over, or
like in the movie Ghost,
or like an Interstellar, where he has to figure out how the books, he's stuck in the Tesseract and he's trying to figure out how to move the books to get
Yeah.
gravity to send the message? And is it something like that where they're practicing all night, or is it just to the spirit, they're responding immediately, but because their perception of time is different?
I think that all of that is valid, and that might be kind of a cop-out answer, but at the same time, it's from me, it might be a cop-out answer, but from at the same time, I'm very cognizant of like not putting definitive remarks to what spirit does. You know what I mean? Because there's so many people out there who think, well, this is what happens here. It's like, well, we don't know that. We don't know what it takes to even, like, how much energy does it take to actually have a voice come through here? And yet those are pretty, when I do get intelligent responses, which happens quite a bit, they are very, relatively quick. Something like the kitchen, my house right now is a considerable disaster, full of stuff that needs to be moved out from my ex-wife. And in my mind, it's like, if you wanted to move something, boy, there's a lot of stuff you can move that would have been much easier to move than that. So why is it that then, if that is actually spirit doing something, why is it that opposed to all the junk that's on this table over here that all you had to do is basically barely blow on and it's going to be flying around the house? And those are questions that I don't have. So but at the same time, if it was something that was just like, you'd look at and be like, oh well, it's very clear there's a slight degrade in the way that it was up there, it was only a matter of time before it fell down, that's fine, but I didn't see anything like that either. So it's really an odd situation.
Yeah, Hartman maybe in jest is saying magnets, but I was going to suggest something along those lines, which is, it may be the case that not all matter interacts with spirit matter, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You maybe they have to build up an ion charge or something that allows them to interact with the metal in the pans or something, versus just solid, right, normal matter pushing anything, right? We can interact with normal matter, but spirit matter may be different.
Absolutely. And you think about it too, like I said, this place is a monstrosity at the moment, and maybe too, just to say, well, maybe it's spirit on this thing that caught my attention. That bang caught my attention. There was no way I could have gone to the refrigerator without seeing all that stuff on the floor. So, maybe if we want to go down that route, that it was spirit, maybe that was the intent, to get our attention, and all that stuff was on the ground there and you couldn't miss it. So maybe that's what it's, because there's so much stuff in this house, maybe the easy stuff to move, I wouldn't have noticed either.
Yeah. If you're going for best bang for the buck, it would be the odd thing, the heavy thing, the out of the norm thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like the pots and pans type,
Absolutely. And I put a video on my personal profile page about it, just to see what people thought too. And some people said, they do voodoo and they don't think voodoo actually works that way in terms of moving energy. So there was an incident I had with the Ouija board about 3 years ago. And that led to one of the files that I sent you. And so I asked, I kind of an open invitation to the doll as well as to the board that I used. Would you do something? So perhaps it was the spirit that was attached to the Ouija board. Who knows?
Which file is that?
That is one called How Dare You. And if you're going to play it, I can explain, because it needs explanation for it, because this is not through Spirit Box.
Yeah, let's set it up.
So
let me bring it up real quick.
When about 3 years ago in August, I had this desire that I needed to get a Ouija board. I never had one before. And instead of, now I have one that if you watch my lives, I have equipment on it. It's over 100-year-old board. But what happened is I took out this Ouija board, and this Ouija board is from like Hasbro. So it's not like, oh my gosh, this one I used here is so, exciting and important. So I get this Ouija board out and I sit down and I put my hand on the planchettes, ask some questions, and nothing moved. And I thought to myself, well, whatever, I didn't expect it to move. The next day, while I was at work, I got a phone call, on my iPhone while I was at work, The phone number was 952-666 something 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 something, and there's 4 more digits. And so I just decided I'm not going to answer this. And then I see that it left a voicemail. And before we play it, I just want to say, note, I called the number after I heard the voicemail. The phone number does not exist. I reached out to the phone company. The phone number does not exist. No one knows where this call came from or this voicemail came from. So I want to play this. This is not from the Spirit Box. This is actually was on my voicemail.
You got to share the audio, Kyle. We didn't get the audio, Kyle.
Let me try it now. Did you hear it that time?
No.
Darn it. I don't know how to get it to. I'm trying to figure out the audio. This is my first time trying to do the audio to it.
I can try to share on my end if you like.
I know, Hartman, I'm fired. Yeah, try to share it on your end because I can't.
Okay.
Because I'm hearing it loud and clear, unfortunately, and it's awesome.
Okay.
It's the second voice that gives you the chills, though.
Right. So let me. Can I go ahead and share that then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let me end mine.
All right.
I know.
How dare you?
You hear that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play it one more time. And note, yeah, like you said, Kyle, I don't know if it's 2 voices, but certainly the tone changes. So once again, this is from my voicemail.
How dare you?
So the first voice sounds like a child almost.
Yep.
And then the second one sounds very menacing.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's saying, "Let me out again."
It sound I go back and forth between "let me out again" and "let me out of here," but I mean, either way, to me personally, it's like, well, that ties into using the Ouija board, because that technically is what you can do with the Ouija board, is you can open up portals and whatnot. A lot of people don't like Ouija boards. I personally don't hold that sort of a disdain towards them, because it's no different than any other sort of device that you use. You're trying to get responses. You're trying to get responses there. But with everything you use, you got to be responsible with it though too. And I must not have been responsible with the Ouija board, because I just didn't think anything happened. And then the next day we got this, and that was pretty crazy, actually.
So after you do something like this, like, I know you got this at like on your voicemail and stuff, but like, so when you do, so like you did the Ouija board prior, like you said, and even when you do like an investigation or anything, is there any kind of ritual that you do so like these spirits don't actually like follow you home, so to speak?
Right. No, that's exactly what we do. I do, and even when I do my Facebook lives, I will do protection, and I will walk through people with protection if they want to do it themselves as well. And I always say, if you don't want to do it, that's fine, or if you have your own way of doing it, that's fine. But I do try to get people to feel, do some kind of protection, because we don't. First of all, I don't know what spirits I'm bringing in here when I do these here. I ask for spirits of love and light, love and above. I don't want anything nasty in here, but sometimes you still get it. And so you want to protect myself, and I want to protect people who are watching as well. And then when we're done, I will do, like, we've closed the circle. This session is over. You are not allowed to communicate with us until the next time we until the next time that we, turn on the device and stuff like that.
Have you ever had a instance where you felt like something is actually, was it like, did you do that after, I would say, an incident where you had the feeling that something had actually followed you home? Or is that something you had researched prior where you're like, okay, I need to do this before?
The smart thing to do is to do it all before, because it's kind of like sometimes it's too late to do it after the fact. And there are times that I've had some nasty stuff follow me home. For one being at the Vliska axe murder house many, many years ago. And that was probably the worst that I've ever experienced, where it stayed with me for about 3 months, where literally you would feel like it just be in your peripheral. So if it's just in the kind of the corner of your eye at all time, and it was starting to affect the people I worked with. So that was always frustrating. It was scary because at that point, I literally had thought about giving the whole thing up, because what happened there and what happened after I got home were frightening, damn right frightening. And I've never experienced anything quite like that. It really brought fear forward, opposed to just, oh, we're trying to reach out to spirits. Now this is like, I feel targeted. I feel like that they want to really come after me. And there's been some nasty stuff that had come out of that place.
Have you ever had, which will lead me into another story, have you ever had where something has given you actual physical touch contact?
Absolutely.
Because I used to have one where I would get scratched.
Okay.
Where I would have these huge scratches, these huge three-line scratches, to where it was like I didn't feel it, I didn't know, but I would look down, and all of a sudden I have these huge scratches coming across me. And I noticed that it's actually starting to happen again. And it hasn't happened in a while, but it's actually starting to happen again. It actually happened to my wife yesterday.
So have you thought about bringing in someone to clear your house, to cleanse your house?
I mean, one of those ghosts is your old buddy, isn't it?
You mean the one that's always followed me?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them is. I never have, because it doesn't matter where I've ever lived my whole life. And anywhere I've been my entire life, there's always been something there.
Right. And I guess my point though is like, there is a line that gets crossed when, you can have, spirit friends here and whatever else. But if something is scratching you, that in my mind, that means that there's a reason, there's something going on that's making them to be more aggressive. Obviously there's always those people who are going to jump to, well, it's demons, and it's not, I doubt it's demons, because that's very rare.
Yeah.
But why would they need to scratch? Sometimes it's as simple as trying to get a hold of you, or trying to get your attention. And, maybe that's where you want to.
That works pretty good.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that can't be, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but that can't be something that you're going to want, that you're going to want to have, continue on, especially if it's, affecting your wife and stuff. And I see Chuck says, can Kyle have an attachment going on? The thought crossed my mind for sure. I mean, but when I said that, like for me with Vliska, the attachment had been there for 3 months. I mean, this is something that's been with you for a long time. I mean, I guess it's really up to you what you feel like you want to do, because some people like to have the spirit interaction. I just feel like there's a certain time that there's a line crossed that you really shouldn't have to deal with, or your family deal with.
Honestly, I'm so used to it going on my life that it doesn't phase me anymore. Like I'm not phased by it. Like it's like going to the bathroom, taking a shower, getting ready for work
and get scratched.
It's just
it's like a service animal in training.
Well, I'd say it's more like just part of everyday life. It's part of sitting in traffic. It's part of living my life, as I have this stuff that.
Right. Happens. But let me ask you this though, your wife and kids, now she's getting attacked. Is she okay with that? are they scared? You mentioned that you have to keep a door shut because, your wife doesn't want to see this entity. I guess all I'm saying is, maybe also consider that side of it as well, that,
Yeah.
you
If
want
it
to,
progresses, I would probably do something to intervene. I'm waiting to see if this instance lately is a one-off, I would say.
Mhm.
But
And I would
Well,
also say too, and I'd just also say too, real fast, that you have the right to be like, that is not okay. You can't do that here. You're not allowed to do that in my house.
so are spirits generally pretty reasonable, Greg, that you can set boundaries for them and they generally abide by them?
I think more so than not. I think the one thing that people get confused on when a lot of residential investigations that I had done, where you go into somebody's house and they're always like, well, it's a demon in here. And it's like, you know what? The thing is, some people think that when you die, that suddenly you sprout wings and you are, angelic, and that you play a harp. And it's like, no, it's not true. If you're a jerk in real life, you're going to be a jerk as a spirit. You're going to be something where, in my mind, this is just my take on it. You pass away and you have the opportunity to cross over to that next level. Like you're playing your game and you're going to the next level of that game. Some people mill around in the level of the game for a while, and that's sometimes spirits have unfinished business. Aunt Mabel, just after she died, the kids got the house. She's unhappy that you're changing the house, so she's going to stick around and tell you why the house shouldn't change by throwing stuff around and making you unhappy. And then when she feels like she's done her work, then she might cross or whatever else. But a lot of people are like, well, gosh, this, like what Kyle's talking about, my gosh, maybe that's something dark and demonic. It's like, no, it's probably someone just trying to get your attention, or possibly like an elemental or something that's somehow in the house, that you just have to kind of be careful of and set your boundaries. And I think that's when you really have to watch what you're doing. If you set your boundaries and they don't follow it, then I think that's where you want to possibly get someone involved or try to figure out what's going on there. Because like Kyle says, it's not like it's bothering him. It's not like it's frightening him. But once you start feeling oppressed by it, then you have to do something about it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kyle, if you're not feeling oppressed by it, then my curiosity is, what is this spirit trying to tell you? Is the scratch or the mark that it leaves behind a message of some sort, or, trying to signal something to you?
I don't know. Since this is so new, it's hard to like, even when it was happening when I was younger in my parents' house, because in my parents' house, when we would get scratched, it wasn't just me.
Mm-hmm.
It was everybody. So it wasn't like singling out anybody. So, and like my parents in the beginning, when I would tell them these kind of things, they're like most parents are, you have an exaggerated, imagination, because like there was one time I went to my parents and I was like, hey, I just want to let you know, nothing to get alarmed about, but there's two people sitting on the couch. They're always hanging out on the couch. I said, there's a tall bald man and there's a short fat dude. They're just kicking on the couch. They always kick it on the couch. Just take it as you want. Whatever, Kyle, whatever. I was like, it's fine. You can take, and then maybe like two, and then it was never brought up again. And then one day a little girl, our neighbor, was there hanging out. And she looks over and she says, there's two people sitting on your couch, right? And they're like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, there's a tall, bald guy and a short, fat guy. They're just sitting on your couch. And they looked. And I wasn't home when it happened. I wasn't even there. And I came home and they were like, tell me again about what you see on the couch. And I described it. And she's like, oh, the little girl down the street saw it too. I said, told you.
Yeah, you're going to believe her, but you didn't believe me.
But they're like, okay, it's just too coincidental.
Hmm.
that two different people saw the same exact thing.
So, just stepping back 1 second, and then I want to talk about that experience you had there. In a way, it kind of reminds me, as far as the interaction that you just recently got. Like Sam said, maybe they really want to get a hold of you. Was my thought of like my cat, who he'll like rub up against me, he'll just like meow at me and stuff, or he'll put his he'll kind of get on his hind legs and put his paws on my leg and stuff to try to get a hold of me. And if I'm still not paying attention, then that's when the claws will come out. Yep. And just do whoa like that, and just kind of this serious look looking at me. And it really made me wonder, is that the same sort of thing that you're kind of running into? Someone needs to get your attention, and so, maybe because they're not getting your attention, they're trying to reach out to like your wife because maybe that will be better. Because here's the thing that is interesting. Now you're telling me that you are able to see spirits. Now can you still see spirits? Okay, so
like the one that walks up and down the hallway, he just walks up and down. I see him walk up and down. It's like we had to move from an apartment because the apartment was so bad paranormally that we actually had to like move out. And the only thing because it was, and this is actually how we got to know our neighbors, was when our house was quiet, we were like, oh, good. We went outside, and then I'll back up and then I'll tell you about the spirits that were there. They were freaked out. They're like, we don't want to go back in our house. And I was like, what's going on? Is there anything we can help with? We don't want to tell you. You're going to think we're crazy. I said, the most you could do is say something. Well, this and this happened. I was like, ha! That's why my house was quiet last night.
Oh yeah. So
what it was, there was three different. On top of the one that follows, there was three separate ones. There was one that stayed downstairs. There's one that stayed in my daughter's room, and then there was one that walked up and down the hallway. So one time I had my sister and my brother-in-law come over, had some drinks, we were hanging out, and they were sleeping down in the living room, and we got up in the morning and they were gone. And I was like, I called them, where'd you guys go? Well, I opened my eyes at about 4:00 in the morning, and there was this ghost about this far from my face staring at me. So he left. And I said, oh, I should have told you about that.
Jeez, Kyle, you got a Hill House going on.
I was like, well, I didn't want to scare anybody. But they're my sister and my brother-in-law. They didn't think twice about it because everything that's always happened. And I was like, yeah, that one's kind of a nuisance.
Now I have an important question that I have to ask. Sam, behind you, are those Doctor Who Region 2 DVDs that are on the shelf?
No, it's one.
They look like them because the way that they're laid out. But I know on the top shelf there. What are those?
It's all One Piece.
Oh, okay. Because it's interesting. I'll have to send you guys a pic to see what those. If you have never seen them, they look like that on at least your top shelf. Kyle, the thing that I feel like that is what do you think is the most consistent thing about all these stories of spirits that you tell me about? What do you think is the most consistent thing there?
They like to appear for me, I guess.
Close. You are the consistency between everything.
You're the conductor, Kyle, of this spirit train.
I guess.
Conductor is very true. So, I guess I feel like I think that once, depending on what you want to do, once you set boundaries, I think that things kind of will sort of, hopefully ease up or whatever. I mean, like you said, nothing wrong with them. It's just, I just always get worried when people are being attacked or find out why they're trying to lash out. Like, what is it? And that's where perhaps those EVP sessions work or whatever else, I mean, but you're kind of using mediumship anyway. You might be able to get them to tell you just in your head as well.
I mean, I could try it. I mean, I'm not against trying anything that helps, anything to go on. Like, I was just glad that none of those that were in that apartment followed me, because there was one that was there that was rough.
Mm-hmm.
And it was there was one that used to pace up and down the hallway and come right to the foot of my bed. So it was like he had like business attire on. So he had like a loosened necktie,
mm-hmm.
and then he had like a button-up shirt, and a couple of the buttons were undone. And he'd walk up and down the hallway screaming, "Shut the fucking lights off! Shut the fucking lights off!" All night long. He would walk right up to the foot of our bed. And when we first moved in, my wife was like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "I don't know what this is. This one sucks."
Wow.
This one. And then there was another. And then the third one that was in my daughter's room was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter was like 8 months old or so. They're kind of starting to walk, and they're trying to climb out of the crib stage. I'm sure. I don't know if you have any kids, Greg, but
no.
I'm sure Sam knows this stage in kids when they finally figure out how to climb out of the crib. Well, we had baby monitors set up so that, like
mm-hmm.
most parents do, so we could hear. And we could hear her talking to my daughter.
You could hear the spirit talking to your daughter.
Yes.
Okay.
So she would talk,
and then girl.
Yep. And then my daughter wasn't talking yet. Like, when kids like coo, like, you know what I'm saying, Sam?
Yep.
And she would like laugh and coo, and then she would laugh, and then she would keep talking. This is how you climb out of the crib. And my wife was like, "Shut it off." And I was like, "No, we'll just keep it on, just in case."
Holy cow, man!
And we would sit there and we would
crazy.
listen to, and it was this little black girl with these little braids in her hair. And she just hung out in there, and she just kept my daughter company.
Do you ever record that by chance?
I didn't record that. No.
Jeez, Kyle.
That was
cool.
That's how I met my neighbors, though, because like when my house was quiet, they would like move to the next apartment, and it was
mm-hmm.
like these townhouses. There was like 5 in a row, and they would move from apartment to apartment. And that's how we actually got to be friendly with all of our neighbors, because we had this common thing that was happening to all of us.
That's wild.
And I tried to do research on like the apartment complex and to see if anything crazy had happened, or if anything like any kind of like there was any kind of like news stories or anything, but like nothing ever came up, and there was nothing ever like, there was no real research for me to be able to do to see what or why this was going on.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like you're the beacon that spirits come to. And, I've run into this a lot with people who don't necessarily know what to do with it, but I mean, it probably wouldn't hurt to kind of set up a way of doing boundaries so that, maybe it lessens the activity a little bit, if that's what you want. It just, once it starts getting to the point of attacking and lashing out, that to me is a little bit different, but
Like
some
the one
ideas
guy,
for sure.
The lights weren't even on.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that was his loop. I think he was stuck in that loop of doing that, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it could be like residual energy.
Like
yeah.
It's just something that, but like the one that talked to my daughter, that's not residual, because that was actually like
his intelligent responses. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we also call ITC communication, because you are hearing it through an electronic device. So, which is, I love that. And just like my voicemail message, that's ITC as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting it through an electronic device, even though she wasn't talking to you, she was talking to your daughter. It was still coming through that way. Yeah.
It
Wow.
was something. I mean, as soon as our lease was up,
Got out.
we we got out of there.
See you later.
Yeah. And it was like, so then we moved, right? And then our house got ready that we were moving into. And it was it was on this big plot of land, and there's like farm animals and other little like duplexes on it. And it was pretty cool. And I was like, and the people that bought it had bought it from the original owners.
Mm-hmm.
So
Stick says that you're that Whoopi Goldberg from Ghost.
well, I'm not going to make any pottery. I'll tell you that. But like, so we moved into this house, and I'm sitting there getting ready for work, and I look behind me as I'm leaving the bathroom, and there's this little short old lady, gray hair, bun in her hair, just standing there hanging out, giving that "what are you doing in my house" look.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and the whole house was built real low. Like, I'm tall, I'm 6'2". So there were spots in my house where I couldn't even lean against the wall because the roof had come so low.
Oh yeah.
Because they had built this house for this lady that was short.
Mm.
So, and I knew that because the neighbors, like, that was the first thing I said when I walked in. And that was like the first thing they told us. Oh, the original owner was shorter. So when she built her house, she wanted everything a little bit lower. It's like, all right. And I was like, so we would hang out and have a couple drinks with our neighbors that own the place and stuff. And I would be like, I got a quick question. Don't think I'm crazy, just like I said to you. So the lady that used to live here, and I went through the same thing, short, gray haired, bun in her hair, blah, blah. And they were like, and they just stood there. They didn't say anything to me. And I was like, yep, I should have kept that one to myself. And they're like, hold on. They got a picture. They're like, her? They're like, yeah. They're like, that's the lady that live there. I was like, oh, she's still there. She's hanging out. She just doesn't want us there. She didn't like bother us though. It was more of that old lady, like,
Yep. Disapproving sort of.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that those are the ones who haven't crossed. They can't let go. They can't let go of their belongings or their life. And they stick around, and they're very disapproving of the person that that has taken over. And maybe there came a point that maybe she realized you guys aren't that bad. Maybe she let up a little bit. I don't know, but you know, that's what you.
No, yeah, she would just appear once in a while.
Once in a while, but she didn't cause any she didn't start throwing stuff at you, right? I mean,
no, I assumed because we were, it was me and my wife and our kids, so maybe it was that family connection. We weren't bad people. Yeah, so I think that was kind of, but then all the time they'd be like, did you see her again? Did you see her again?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, no big deal.
Becomes a skeptical, as just some spectacle, I guess, of like for them,
Yeah. And that's always why I hate telling people, because 8 times out of 10, they think you're crazy because you have this sort of, I guess, evidence, I would almost say, or gift, whatever you want to call it.
Well, and then they'll always be like, you see anyone else? It's like, mind your own business.
Yeah. It's not like I can't do it on command. It kind of just happens. And it does. And like a lot of people would ask, is it only at night? Is when, because a lot of people talk about like ghost hunters, they only do it overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And just like we talked about earlier, it's random.
It is random. I mean, as you know, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. But I think the shows do them at night because there's less activity at night. You can shoot without having a lot of cars going by outside, depending on where you're at. That it's just much quieter. I mean, once again, that building I worked in that went back to 1916. Every time you're there by yourself, like at night or on the weekends, you'll hear someone typing, you'll hear people talking, and you'll look around and and it's like, Boy, why does this happen? Well, it always is happening. It doesn't stop. It's just that we're caught up in our own world by this point during the day. For those 8 hours that we're there, we totally miss it.
Distractions, noise,
Just
stress,
living our
life.
life. Yeah. I mean, I've been there during the day, and I'd seen like a shadow figure, and no one else caught it. And thank God, really, because people get freaked out over that stuff. I've seen stuff happen during the day there all the time. Stuff happens over here during the day, but it is one of those big misnomers that like, well, it has to be at night. Well, sometimes I think we like to really play up those roles, the creepiness and whatever. So yeah, we do want to do it at night, and sometimes maybe it's easier to see maybe light anomalies at night, or you have your flashlight, use that as a piece of equipment, and that, all the lights that light up at night or whatever, or you have a night vision camera, infrared camera, it's just, those are things that are fun to just use. And, you want to play up the part. Plus, once again, some of these places we want to go in, they have stuff going on during the day. So we can only go in at night.
So even there, so you mostly do night ones then?
Mostly. I mean, there's been times like I was down in Tombstone, and we went to a lot of places down there, and a couple of them we did during the day, and we got some really interesting stuff. I had a psychic medium with me. We went down there together, and we went, and I firmly believe when you're doing investigations, I like to work with a psychic medium. I like the idea of the metaphysical and the paranormal kind of bridging the gap.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because they are one and the same as far as I'm concerned. A lot of people don't necessarily agree with that, but when you have them saying something and a piece of equipment validates it, or I'd say vice versa, but it's better if a medium says something and then a piece of equipment validates it. And that's really, really very, very cool. And we've done some day stuff.
Did you do like the Birdcage Theater? And
yeah, we did Birdcage. There's a place called China Mary's that we went to, that the psychic medium, when it was her friend, and we went through, and she was picking up a lot of stuff. Actually, she was able to kind of close a mystery for them, for that they were wondering about a couple things. And then China Mary herself, she was the richest Asian woman in I don't know if it was America, but certainly in that region. She controlled all the Chinese workers in the area. She literally was able to, if she didn't approve of them, they didn't work. So she had a lot of power. So in this house, the one thing that the guy who owned it at the time, Graham, he was picking up, like some stuff was happening. It's like, well, what's going on is that China Mary, and that's the name that she went by in Tombstone. She wants rent. She wants rent to. She still thinks that this is her place and that you're just staying in it. So you got to give some kind of, a tribute to her once in a while. And it's not a big deal. And he's doing that. But like his name would come through the spirit box. And it's just, I mean, this was China Mary coming through. And it was really interesting, really pretty incredible, really. I loved it.
Because Sam and I both live here in Arizona. So I had taken our son. Well, we went as a family, but as what we usually do for birthdays, instead of a bunch of presents, because my kids are a little bit older, we go on family trips. And he wanted to go to Tombstone. And when we were there, we saw this advertisement online, as as we were booking stuff for Tombstone. This guy said he would take us on a paranormal walk of Tombstone, which is actually a very expensive history lesson of
I've heard people take that. Yes.
Yeah. And you just kind of walk around. He goes, this is where Doc Holliday really got, shot or whatever, this is where it really happened. And I was kind of bummed that it was like, I thought we were going to, for as amount of money that we paid, I was like, I was hoping we were going to go do something cool. But Sam's really chomping at the bit. He'd like you to,
I want to see more clips.
He wants to see more clips. He doesn't like my stories. No, I'm just.
I love your stories, Kyle.
No, I know, but I want to hear some of your clips too, because I think you have some cool ones.
Let's see here. Okay, how about this one? And this one, is this one was in one of my sessions. Chuck might have been
This
there
is
for this
Lincoln.
one.
You spent your
Good grief. Starts by itself. Spirits. It's paranormal. Chuck might have actually been there for this one. There was a documentary that was on that was about the last photo of Lincoln, and I was really taken by it. What it was believed to be a picture of him after he died in the bed that they moved him to from the what you call
Theater.
it, the Ford Theater. So it's hotly contested if it's really the picture or not. So I thought, well, what if I try to reach out to President Lincoln? And like Kyle, like you said, when you say stuff like that, you kind of wonder if people are going to think you're silly, or because it's like, oh, you're going to get Lincoln. Okay, whatever, good for you. So I sat and I meditated at first, and just asked. I had my flashlight going over here, and it's at the off. And what you do is you have it kind of halfway between on and off, and people will tell you that sometimes the ring inside will expand with the heat. That's what turns it on. But if it's something that is really connecting with you and it's only turning on when you're asking questions and it's not on otherwise, I find that interesting. So basically, I asked President Lincoln. I meditated. I asked him, "Can I speak with you? There's going to be people watching. Can I ask you a question?" And the flashlight turned on, and then it turned off. And I'm like, "Cool. Well, that's very interesting. May I also talk to your wife, Mary Todd Lincoln?" And the light went on and off. So on the show, I put up on the screen, because I used StreamYard as well, and I put up on the screen that picture, and I had the spirit box going. I'm like, President Lincoln, is this you? And you get this voice says yes, and like, immediately I'm floored, and it's a very distinctive voice, and and then the chat room starts going crazy, like, "Oh my God, it's him! Oh my God!" And so I start getting flustered, and so I decide I'm going to ask Mary Todd a question, and I said, "Mary," and the question is, you're going to hear me say it, but you're going to hear me really mess it up, because I was so flustered at that point. The question was simply, "Mrs. Lincoln, when you were alive, you spoke to spirits. Now that you have passed, do you speak to the living?" And you're going to hear this, and you're going to hear in there, you're going to hear another male voice during that question. We'll talk about that. But what I'm really focused on is the female response here. So I'm going to play that for y'all right now.
Mrs. Lincoln, you spent your entire life reaching out to spirits. Do you talk to other people? Do you talk to other people as a spirit, to other living people? Talk about what?
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
I mean, what if that's Mrs. Lincoln? And it's I mean, that just doesn't randomly come through the radio. That what I'm talking about, I'm asking for a woman. I'm asking a question, and she's answering using the words that I am putting out there. Can you say for certainty that's Mary Todd Lincoln? I can't say for certainty it's Mary Todd Lincoln. But what I can say is I was talking to Mary Todd Lincoln. I was addressing Mary Todd Lincoln. I got a female that came through. She intelligently answered my question. I'm going to say it's Mary Todd Lincoln, even though that may not be an official thing. But then you hear a voice, and it's the same voice that was Lincoln in earlier. And I believe he says, "I know," when I'm asking these questions. So I'm going to play that again. And here we go.
Mrs. Lincoln, you spent your entire life reaching out to spirits. Do you talk to other people? Do you talk to other people as a spirit, to other living people? Talk about what?
So that I like that.
That's a good one.
That puts a smile on my face.
Yeah, I bet.
And that voice that I associate with Lincoln, he's come through a couple times since, and it's only when I'm asking specifically for him, and I have asked for him before again since then. And the most recently was at a place called the Grand House in Rush City, Minnesota, where I teach a paranormal class with my friend Shar. And we, after the class is done, like 5 weeks of it, we go to a location, and we went there and we reached out to a couple presidents because we believe that there's some sort of connection that we wanted to explore, and his voice came through again, which was pretty incredible. Do you want more files? Are we good? Do you want to do more?
Yeah. Have more?
I have a number of them. You tell me how long you want to go with this, because I have a few that I had sent Kyle and I have here. So
yeah, let's go through it. Let's go through another one.
Okay, so why don't we get to a darker place here, right? Because that's what we, I mean, we have some good ones, but we also have some that are just a little bit like, what happened here? What's going on? Once again, the Vliska Axe murder house. Are you too familiar with that house at all?
I'm not.
Really fast. I think it was June 12th, 1910, in the town of Vliska, Iowa. There is a family that had a number of had 2 daughters. Or, no, I don't know. I think 4 kids, right? And their friends. It was the last day of school. They went up to the church about 2 blocks away, and for the last day of school, they had mass or whatever. And while they were up there was a man, believed to be a man. We don't know really what happened. This is unsolved. Somebody got into the house and hid in the attic. So when they all came home, they did their nightly stuff. They went to bed. He came out of the attic and he murdered them all with an axe. And this was a massive thing in America that actually took the Titanic sinking finally off the front pages of newspapers. And the thing about Vliska was that it's never been solved. They didn't have a police officer there. They didn't have any police there. They had a peace officer. So when news came out that this happened, they had the peace officer there, and then you had everybody from town come there trying to help him by cleaning up the crime scene. And so it was compromised, and they've never been able to figure out who did it. Now, the thing jumping forward a number of years is that this house had been opened up for paranormal investigations in the early 2000s, maybe late 1990s. And it started to become a place that some people would go into, and they would start conjuring. They would start conjuring some nasty stuff in there. And what happened was that I call it the STD of the paranormal, because it's just picked up so much garbage over the years, so many nasty things, that it's almost like the spirits of the family is kind of an afterthought there to many now. So we went there, and this one I'm going to play. You're going to hear two files, but this one is, I keep asking who's talking to us, because I want to know who's talking to us. This is a spirit box, and what you're going to hear, well, I'm just going to play it, but it's very chilling. And this is one where I actually heard it real time, and you're going to hear my reaction to it, and you're going to see that it actually makes me sick to my stomach that this came through. So why don't we play this one right now? Of course, now my computer's thinking about trying to get in. And so, I set it up, and now it's just like, I don't know. I don't know why it's not doing it. How odd. There is an issue connecting to my stream. So I'm going to try it one more time. This is Vliska not wanting me to share it, I guess. We'll try it again. I'm going to try another file. Maybe there's just something wrong with that file now or something, because it's still not working. I've never had this issue before, funny enough. Let's see here. Let's try this one. None? Oh, there we go. Okay. This is a different one. So now I'm going to have to reset. I'm going to have to tell you what's going on here now. This is still at Vliska. What happened is, the first one that I was going to play, there is voices that say 6 people killed. And it keeps saying it over and over again. But one is really loud, and that's what I pick up. And it's very freaky. this one that takes place right by where the killer was. You're going to start off and you're going to hear me say, you're going to hear someone say Greg, and it doesn't sound like it's coming through the spirit box. You're going to hear me say, did somebody say my name? In the spirit box, because everyone around me is shaking their head no. From the spirit box, you're going to hear, I did. And I have that caption. And then I said, well, you know my name. What is your name? And you're going to see the name that comes through here. So let's play this.
Greg? What?
You know my name? You said my name. What is your name?
Damn.
Right? You want me to play it again?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Greg? What?
You know my name? You said my name. What is your name?
Damn.
That's what it sounds like to me.
And, just, as investigators or as anyone, it's not actually Satan.
Yeah.
It's somebody that's trying to, like I said, if you're a jerk in real life, you're going to be a jerk afterwards. And I think it's just something trying to scare us. And, we were scared. We weren't like, oh my God, let's get out of here, but it's certainly something where it's just like, why what are you trying to do?
Mhm.
So yeah, that was pretty incredible. Let's see here. Let's do this one if it loads. There we go. So this one is from the Morris Jamel Mansion, the Morris Jamel Mansion in New York City. This is a place that actually General Washington had as his headquarters for the American Revolution for 3 months. But then it was taken over by a number of people, but it's most famous for a woman by the name of Liza Jamel, who was at one point the richest woman in America. She was very, very particular. And I have her voice somewhere else, but I brought my friend Robert. We went to this place together. We weren't necessarily investigating, but they allowed me to do spirit box session there. I asked them and they said, absolutely. They put us in a room and we had access to a lot of places. And so what happens here is that something happens to Robert during this time. He is, he's not taken over or anything, but he's just very oppressed. He's just not himself. Something's not right. So we went outside. He's walking around the perimeter of this place. It's like in the Bronx, basically. And but this mansion is still here. And I do a spirit box session and I don't think I got anything. So I went home like, okay, it's not much. And then I listened and I got this in this message and it's directly for Robert. And I'll play it right now. So I'm going to play it again. So that's what we think it says. Go home.
Wow.
Robert.
That's what it sounds like.
And I know it's also, it leads people when I put up captions, but at the same time, if we had everyone try to guess what it says, we would never be able to leave here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
It's just like, it's fun,
Yeah.
but so I do understand that there is some leading going on here. Let's see here. I still wish I could get, there we go. Okay. It's gonna come back. Nope.
Do us add.
So this is the 6 people killed. Okay.
Okay.
We're still looking for a name. Give us a name. Six people killed. That's what this just said.
What? 6 people killed?
I'd play it one more time for folks. looking for a name. Give us a name. Six people killed. That's what this just said.
6 people killed.
Now, what you may not hear is that it keeps saying it. It keeps saying it over. Some people say they're hearing it before that main one that we hear, but you do keep hearing 6 people killed over and over and over again. Now, at Vliska, there were 8 people that were murdered. So 6 is, does that mean the children and not the parents? That's what I wonder. It doesn't quite make sense, but it's still very interesting all the same.
Wow.
Do you have time for 2 more?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got time.
All right. Let's see here. Here's Eliza Jamal. I'm going to play this one like 3 times in a row because it's so quick, but this was down in the kitchen. I believe it's Eliza. She's very pointed because I'm asking the kitchen help, the spirits of the kitchen help, and I'm being told, stop it. And you could here's the thing about this. You could hear the anger in her voice. And this is through a spirit box, like the one I've been holding up. And I think that's what's really interesting about it, is that you can hear the inflection. And this is great. It's really quick, though. Let me see if it opens. Oh, it's too short. It's too short for StreamYard. Well, screw you, StreamYard.
Right?
It's your loss. Let's see here. I don't know why. I didn't realize that that's an issue on this stuff. I thought I played it through StreamYard before.
Kyle, you can upload it in the video clips if you have it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's probably where you could do it that way.
Which one is it?
I don't know if I actually sent that one to you. It's Stop It. It's what it's called.
Yeah, it's right here.
Number 2. That's maybe where I played it before.
Okay. What do you want me to do, Sam?
If you load it into the video clips and the brand. So Greg, tell me a little bit more about seems like there's this whole lexicon of things that you guys deal with. You know, I might call it mumbo jumbo. This is my term for like technical language that only exists in a very specific field, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have your spirit box. What are some of the other items in your lexicon that maybe we don't understand very well?
I think and I think they're getting to be more and more understood over time. But EVP would be another one.
What is that?
Electronic voice phenomenon, which is basically if you have like I'm asking Kyle, record your space, right? Ask questions, record it. And what you find on occasion from spirits is that you may not have heard it in real time, but when you play back the recording, you're going to hear possibly a voice or something come through. And, so that's why it's like you ask questions on this recorder, you let it go for maybe, 20 seconds or something, hopefully that you get them to answer the question and you move on to the next question. So it sounds kind of silly, but then when you play it back, sometimes, not all the time, suddenly you get this response or something that comes through that that you didn't hear when you're recording. And I know that, there's stuff like, maybe, you got to pay attention when you do it. That like someone's stomach growled, because when you don't tag it, because you should, if something happens, like you're walking or your chair creaks when you're doing it, you got to tag it. You got to be like, that's my chair. That's me coughing. That's my stomach growling. If you don't, it sounds like a demon. It's like you're listening and you're like, whoa. And it's like, well, no, that was the tacos, from dinner. So, it's stuff like that you got to be, you just got to kind of be watchful for. But when it works phenomenally. It's just sometimes there's some really good stuff. Like we just did an investigation. We did a live investigation of the Calumet Inn in Pipestone, Minnesota. And Shar and her wife, Kim, were down in the pub, and they were asking questions, doing an EVP burst session, and they're playing it back, and all of a sudden you just hear somebody say, kind of a whisper but very defined, Kim, just one time, but it just was so you couldn't mistake it. And we call that a Class A EVP. When it's like a Class A, what that means is that it's very it's extremely clear and well defined, where you don't need someone to tell you what they think it is. You can just hear and be like, oh my gosh, that's what that is. There's no question about what it is. So
It doesn't let me take them.
No problem.
The way you sent it to me, it says it's in my downloads, but they're not there.
Oh, how odd.
Sorry about that.
Let me I got one more that I know will play, unless it doesn't want to play. And this is at a place called the Soap Factory. And this is in Minneapolis. St. Anthony, Maine is the birthplace of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Very active, a great place to investigate. And there's this place called the Soap Factory that had been around for a long time. It's still around, I think, in some degree, but not like it was when I investigated it, which was basically untouched. It was turned into an art installation, but it was still, it was grimy, it was kind of messy, and it still was kind of wonderful for paranormal investigating. And I did one of my episodes, my web series there, and so we did a night of interviewing people. They went home, and I had a spirit box with me, and I just said, should we try a session? We're down here in the basement, and it's a wonderful place to be. And we're like, sure. And we're doing the session, and we started to get a lot of good responses right away. And I was using Shack Hack, which is basically a Sangene radio from the 1990s, and it was hacked. And so that was what I was using that night. And we're using it. And between us, we're all standing in the basement. We see something black move between our legs. And I thought to myself, well, first of all, it's not a demon. That's not where I'm going with this. It's not a demon. So I asked the question, is somebody's dog here? And then we get this response. If I can get this to play, let's see if this will come in, because this is one of my favorite recordings. There we go.
Somebody's dog here?
That's my dog.
That's my dog. Gonna play it again.
Is somebody's dog here?
And the thing you look at when you get responses like this is that's a long period of scanning through radio frequencies. And the thing about that is that it's the same voice through all of that. It's consistently the same voice, the same tone. And I find that very interesting, and I love that. I mean, because it's not dark, it's not creepy. It's just, no, that's my dog.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I did add the stop it file, Sam.
Okay.
So now
Cool.
you can play. I did.
Got it. All right, let's see if we can get this.
Sorry.
There
Yeah,
was.
it's really quick. Yeah, it's super quick.
Yeah, play it again.
She doesn't want you talking to help, Greg.
Nope.
That's what it is. Like, stop it. Get out. You're annoying us. So angry. So angry. Like, don't be angry with me. I want to talk to you.
Don't turn them against me.
But I, in my mind, to me, if you see pictures of Eliza Jamel, that is what she would sound like to me. And so I just really feel like that she floated downstairs to tell me to get out, basically. Stop it. We've had enough of your crap here. So yeah, it's great.
Did you do what she said, or did you keep doing?
No, because I didn't hear it at the time.
Oh, you caught it later.
I caught it later. So I mean, if I did hear it, yes, I would stop it then. What I try to do is I try to follow what spirit wants, so if I go somewhere, that's why, as an investigator, your first question when you turn on the equipment and stuff, you spend, a couple hours setting everything up. The first question you should never ask is, do you want me to leave?
Right.
And people do it. I've been in rooms where they do it and you're like, what are you doing? Stop it. I should just play, Eliza Jamel every time they do it. Stop it. 'Cause, I mean, what are you doing? You don't need to ask those questions, because you really should follow them. If you have the kind of investigating skill that, that we, or not skill, but the way that we investigate, the respectful way to investigate. If you're going to ask a question,
Professionalism.
yeah, and if you're going to ask a question and they tell you what they want, you can't just ignore it. You have to do it. Like when I get through the spirit box, you hear help or help me. It's like, well, what do you need? What do you need? And if you get told, then you got to try to figure out how to do it as best as you can. If you can't do it, you can't do it, but you can't just ignore it. I get a lot of times, you hear crossover afterwards, or shows up on the obelisk, which is another term that you wouldn't be familiar with, Sam. You're talking about terms and stuff, and it's not there. It's right here. It's a little device that words will come up, and this is one that if you get words that are accurate to what you're talking about, it's pretty cool. But if you're in a dark location and you're like, who's here with me, and it just says bread, you're like, I don't know. And that happens a lot. But then we've had some incredible stuff come through. One of my favorites, and super sad at the same time, my dad had passed away in 2015, so he'd been gone for a while, and my mom in 2019 got really ill, and she was in hospice, and she lingered, and that was something she never wanted. She was out of it, she was dying, but she wouldn't die, and she was suffering. And after a night of spending another night in there for 6 hours just watching her, I'm getting in the truck and I'm driving home, and I really lose my shit on my dad, my spirit of my dad. Like, why would you let this happen? Why are you not stepping in and letting her pass? It just went on and on, just really angrily. And I get home and something tells me I need to turn this on. I need to turn the obelisk on. And 2 words come through. And it just said heard, HEARD, and release. And I'm like, wow, mom's going to die tonight. And then at like 1:15 in the morning, I get a call from my sister, and she's like, mom passed. And,
Wow.
It's just like, okay. And normally words will come up through the obelisk quite a bit, or it won't come up. You know what I mean? It's one or the other. When I turned that on and had it on for probably about half an hour, those were the only 2 words that came through. I took a picture of it, actually, of the screen, just so I could always have that. And it's really pretty. To me, it's powerful.
Yeah.
Like he told me and you know what? You're always a son of somebody, right? So after I kind of let him have it, I thought to myself, oh my God, am I going to get in trouble with him? Because it's like, you don't ever talk to your parents that way. I never do. And
Right.
so I was still like, is he going to be angry with me? Is he upset? But I was upset because we know that she didn't want it to be that way. And so, that was really something. And that she did pass after that was incredible, really.
Well, that
That is
an
powerful.
amazing
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you got to get that. Not a lot of people get that kind of interaction as their loved ones are, you know what I mean? So like you had that from your father, knowing, okay, I heard you, that's what's going to happen. So, I mean, that had, like you said, powerful. That had to have been like a good feeling. Probably just, I mean, yes, your mom passed, but like that feeling of like, you knew it was your father was actually there to help.
I was like, this shit's real. Wow. I've been doing it for 10 years at this point. Wow. And it's actually real. No, but it was just kind of like once in a while I'll hear from him. I really haven't, to my knowledge, heard from my mom since she had passed. I don't really feel like there's been a whole lot that I actually got from her. Like with dad, it was immediate that I was starting to get stuff from him. And I'm, you see spirits, Kyle. Mine are smells. Mine are smells. That's what I really pick up with spirits immediately. And there was a smell that I have always associated with my dad, to the point I was telling somebody, it was a restaurant in Pipestone one day, what the smell was, and it came through. It happened at that moment. And I'm like, do you smell that? And she's like, yeah, I do. And then it was gone.
Wow.
And it's just that, like, what on earth? And it's not a bad smell. It's a good smell. It's just what it smelled like something that I think like associated with him even at home. And that started just to kind of come through. So it was absolutely, that's the stuff I love. I just love those moments.
my wife has those moments. Her mom passed away. It's been 15 or so years.
Mm-hmm.
She had passed away. And, when she sits down, she has a rough day. And she goes, Mom, are you there? And she'll go outside and she'll have conversations with her mom. Every time a butterfly flies by.
Yep. I believe it.
So every time she's having a bad day and she's, reaching out to her mom and stuff, she always feels better because there's always that butterfly that will fly by.
I've heard that before with different sort of insects and stuff. And one of a coworker of mine back when I was working, who was sitting next to me when I got that voicemail message on that phone, her son passed away very unexpectedly at the age of 2. Obviously that's just, as a parent, how do you keep going? And was able to realize that that he would show up to her as a dragonfly or using a dragonfly.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened one day in particular, she was having a bad day and was really thinking about him. And she went to the door. It was summer, and the screen door was just covered with dragonflies.
Wow.
Like where the hell they come from, And spiritually, going, walking past a dragonfly, being a part, seeing a dragonfly, that's always good anyway. That's a good thing. So, it just, it's like, whoa. The signs are out there for everybody if they stop and pay attention. If you find a feather in the street, pick it up and go online and look to see what does it mean if you find a white feather, that sort of thing. The signs are out there for anyone who wants to pay attention, because actually, they're there to guide you. They're there to guide you. Look for pennies, look for coins, and then you can just be like, who. It almost could be immediate, like who's actually trying to reach out to you. This stuff is really very interesting.
Like I said with my wife, it makes her instantly, she just feels a little bit better.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Small white feathers. Yes. And sometimes I'll find big feathers. I do a lot of walking, and I just find them, and I'll put them in my pocket, and I'll see what the colors are when I get back. I found a purple feather, which is really something, in, I think it was Connecticut last year. It might've been Maryland, because we were driving around a lot. So, there's a lot of, this stuff is really exciting. And I know that there's people probably out there like, oh, are you kidding me? Feathers, coins. Yeah. I'm very serious about it. They're out there. The signs are out there. If you don't want to believe, then you don't believe. But if they are moments of comfort, just like your wife is saying.
I think Ferris Bueller said it best, right? You need to stop and look around once in a while.
You really do. You absolutely really do. It's like what we said about the reason why people don't investigate during the day, because the world is happening. It's it's cluttered, it's loud, it's rambunctious. And when you're going to do this when there isn't anything happening, so you could pay attention, you can enjoy it, you can take it all in. And I think that you can use that as a metaphor for life as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, let everybody know where they can find you. So,
the probably the best place is if you want to send me like a friend request on Facebook. I post all my stuff there. You could follow me, but it just follow seems so cold to me. I also have a page, MN Ghostbox. It's literally MN Ghostbox, and I do a radio show on AM 950, but it's also put out to the world called Ghostbox Radio, and that's all about paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, or just what I say, just the unusual. Tomorrow I was supposed to have on Sarah Lemos from Ghost Town Terrors, but she had to cancel. But I also have on, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have on Katrina Weidman from Portals to Hell. Tomorrow I'm just going to do a paranormal chat, just going to be free moving. Anyone who wants to join in and call in or leave a comment or something, and we could just talk about what's on your mind. But then I do Sunday nights, I do Ghost Box Live, which is a live spirit box session. Then Tuesday,
I watched a couple of those.
Yeah. And I do the experimental session. So yeah. And then we started a new show that's monthly called it's called Paranormal Reveal. which we walk through an investigation with somebody from very start to finish. And with that, we just play evidence that they have. We focus on the investigator so that it's their time to talk about something that means a lot to them going through one of their investigations. So we have a lot of stuff going on. There's always something happening.
Well, I hope you're not a stranger here, because you're right in our wheelhouse.
Right. Well, anytime you want to talk about something, I'm here. I know a lot of interesting stuff and useless stuff. So, you know, I mean, balance.
Those are the best.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you so much, Greg, for taking the time on a Saturday. Come and talk to us.
Sorry I consumed so much of it.
And no, Kyle's got lots of stories, and you had lots of great insights. And so we do hope to see you again. Make sure everybody like, comment, subscribe. Check us out in the audio podcast on Monday. You can find this it'll be on YouTube, also be on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Rumble, iTunes. It'll be on YouTube. You get your podcast on Spotify, and make sure you check out Greg. And with that, keep on examining the edges of the unknown.